And we still got a couple people joining, but I'll monitor that. And Jared, I see your question in there. Can we still pick up the herb kit? I have about 10 left, I think. So I'm gonna drop my phone number in the chat, and let's arrange a time. I will be at the office for sure. I have a couple people meeting me tomorrow between 12 and 1. If you're able to make that time, if you need a separate time, then give me a text and we can get there. Okay. So I'm gonna drop that information in the chat and let Lottie get going. But before we do, Carla, did you have a question about the resources or the class, or you want to jump in?
I just wanted to show off fire time. So I just want you to know,
Oh,
and I've been holding on to this with it marked all this time.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a great way to start the class, because that makes me excited. I was just joking around with somebody who I was like, I'm happy when people show their enthusiasm to learn about, herbs and plants, because I'm like, am I the only one who's like geeking out over these weeds and playing in the dirt and grabbing, so it's just been exciting to, put this class together and to be with so many people that are so enthusiastic. I really like being at the herbal kit pickup. I get to see faces, and so many people share stories. I got gifts of, beautiful things that herbalists had made with their own hands, and so many stories about folks like, I went out in my backyard and I got that thing you said last week. So it was great. It was great. And like Tefira said, this is part of an ongoing series that we've been doing. This is our second year of running this class session, and the first year that we made a public offering in the middle of the session. So we welcome any feedback. I hope it's seamless, in that if you haven't been to the previous classes, you don't feel lost or anything like that. And if you are in the previous classes, I hope you'll feel that this was a natural next step in the class, in the process. So since it is part of an ongoing class, I'm just going to briefly introduce myself, but you can go to my website to find out a lot more stuff. But my name is Lottie Spady, and I am the founder of Earthseed Detroit. And I've been studying and practicing herbalism for almost 9 years now. My journey was one of healing and justice work. I'm a social justice and environmental and food justice activist in Detroit. That is how I came to herbalism, in a real roundabout way. And it still is at the forefront for me with healing justice work and how we can empower communities, empowerment at the community level for increasing our health overall as a community and as a people, as families. So that's just in a little brief nutshell who I am. And I'm going to allow space and time for questions, because sometimes we get into medicine making techniques and a lot of people have questions. But I will say, this is just what I do. This is just what is working for me. There are as many ways to make herbal medicine as there are herbalists. So this is not the gospel according to Lottie, or anything like that. It is just suggestions, sort of a show and tell, if you will, things that I've been making and the ways that I've been making them. So I think that's all I want to say. I should have, first, we'll do a brief moment. Every time we do our classes, we take a moment to bring ourselves fully into the room into this moment because there are a lot of things vying for our attention, positive and negative, right? So let's just all collectively take a deep breath in and release it when you're ready. And the next time we do our deep breath in, we're gonna raise our shoulders up. We're gonna breathe in, just pull everything in, like, so that when you let go, letting it all go. You can get back to what you have to worry about. You know, we got 2 hours together, and we always take a moment to honor the ancestors. This is for our ancestors, our elders, elders, and the generations that carried this holistic science through and beyond Middle Passage. May we continue to preserve and share our ancient knowledge to heal humanity and all life on Mother Earth. Remember that our ancestors speak to and through us. And we always ask, if you would like to acknowledge your ancestors who made your presence here possible, feel free to drop their names in the chat, invite them into the room. They're here anyway. If you have that person that had started you on your herbal journey, some of us didn't have anyone starting us on our herbal journey, but that DNA wisdom is tapping us on the shoulder for some reason. So always feel free to invite them to the party, because we want them all here with us. Carla, did you have your hand up? You're on mute.
I laid it down.
Okay, that's good. Okay, all good. So like we said, this is a part of an ongoing session. If you're curious and if you're in the class and want to know what we've been doing and what these are like, like I said, we're rooted in environmental justice, its impacts. Folks here are receiving, part of the class format was to receive a set of native medicinal plants. So we made garden mission statements and began to talk on just a few backyard herbs to start talking about the medicinal properties of herbs such as dandelion, plantain, those kinds of things that are readily available. I'm not going to be spending a lot of time on specific herbs tonight. And this is a basic overview. So I know there's a lot of detail with medicine making, but this is hopefully a get in where you fit in anywhere type of medicine class. In week 2, we talked about our native garden plants and how to plan the garden and scheduled the medicine kit distribution. And here we are at week 3. We're going to talk about some basic medicine making supplies and medicine making techniques.
Hey, Lottie, can I just mention one thing
Sure.
before you jump right in? Because I did get I put my cell phone in the chat just for folks who hadn't already picked up, and I got a couple texts from people who were not a part of the full series who might have wanted a kit, and I just wanted to just kind of underscore that we had enough supplies for those who were, who made it through to the full class. And if there are a few left and you did give me a text, I will try to get them to you. But I know we have just about the numbers, so I'll get through to those first. And then so for Friday, if you come to pick up Friday, that means that you're registered in the full class. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Although we're going to go over the supplies that were in the kit, it could be a list, a good starter list for folks. I'm also down to, if there's anything you want to know where I got it from, where we got it from, that too. That'd be a note for next time to put a price on how much such a kit would be to pull together, because we didn't do that. But hopefully, yeah, we can help you get sourced for a kit in some way. Okay. As I was saying, so what is a basic medicine making kit for herbalism? Now, of course, it could consist of a lot of things. We're just gonna go over some of the basic things for a starter kit. We have our mason jars, 8-ounce mason jars are the smaller size jar. There's the amber tincture bottles. You will use millions of mason jars and millions of tincture bottles. And those have dropper tops. Strainers. I love this strainer. They're smaller than like the kitchen type strainer. I love these strainers because they fit easily over. They fit easily over a measuring cup or a mason jar. And you can also put like your additional like cheesecloth or something else to strain within here. Another basic medicine kit supply is wax paper, regular basic wax paper that is used. And I'm going to talk about the different medicines that you make with these, but wax paper is used to go between the jar, the medicine and the top if you're making something with vinegar. See, we put vinegar in the kit, and that is because vinegar will eat away at the metal on top. So wax paper for that. Labels, labels, just regular labels for writing stuff on. And I'm gonna go over what goes on a label. This is masking tape also. You could use masking tape and a Sharpie. The unbleached coffee filters. I like these because they're good for if you're herbal, if you're using a powdered herb or something that's really, really fine. Coffee filters are a great way to go about straining your herbal medicine. Let's see, we got honey in our kit. We were lucky to get locally sourced from a Black beekeeper, this wild hibiscus honey. So yay, that's what's up. So everybody got a jar of honey, and I'm going to talk about honey, apple cider together, what kind of medicine that makes. It's an oxymel. And then each person in the class got a variety of dried herbs for you to experiment with. Yarrow, stinging nettle, anise, hyssop, echinacea leaf and flower, echinacea root, and marshmallow. These are some additional supplies that are optional. And like I said, as you build your medicine making tools, you'll start to customize it according to what you already have or what you want to try. So, oh, I forgot that we also included in the little medicine kit, we included a small funnel. I had, what did I do with the little funnel? Anyway, there's a little funnel in order to put the medicine into your small jar from a medicine cup. I mean, from a measuring cup. You can also get these stainless steel funnels, which I love these. They come in, this set came in 3 sizes. So this is nice for when I'm filling like a jar such as this. And I'm gonna turn off the slides and talk on the screen so you'll see stuff up, bigger than what it is now probably. But the stainless steel funnels come in different sizes, so they're good for, like I said, filling jars, filling bottles also. Of course, all sizes of mason jars, all the way up to, I have like a gallon-sized mason jar. My friend gave it to me as a Kwanzaa gift, as a joke. She was like, I gave you a big old mason jar because you're always making stuff in mason jars. I was like, this is the best gift ever. Thank you. She looked at me all like, okay, but yes, mason jars. This is something that I love using. It is a potato ricer. These are really good for pouring your herbs in and then you can press them down and get all that good liquid out. So a potato ricer is good for your additional supplies. This here, this is a tea strainer, a very fine tea strainer. Love this because it's good for getting out. I use this a lot. I used to use cheesecloth all the time. You can definitely still use cheesecloth, but I found I was using a lot of cheesecloth because it's not reusable. I mean, it can be reusable if you can rinse it out and use it a number of times, not with the oil. And it kind of depends on the herb and how much, how clean you can get it. But I really like the reusable options too. Okay, glass measuring cups, sharp knife, double boiler, a blender, food processor. Clear packing tape is good for labels so they don't get, we're always pouring stuff and marker starts to run. Sharpies and masking tape. Let me see what the next slide is here. Okay, so
Before you go on, there was a couple questions about where to purchase herbs locally. If you had any ideas, I mentioned Goddess Herbs, I mentioned Nature's Product. And then Joy was wondering, how do you feel about milk bags?
Feel about what?
Milk bags.
Milk bags?
Joy, if you want to clarify, you want to come off mute and clarify.
Yes, the nut milk bags.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yes to Goddess Herbs and Nature's Products locally. Those are in the city. And I do have a slide later on that has their phone numbers and contact information for everybody. There's also Black Locust Gardens, which is in Michigan, but it's in Dexter, Michigan, but they are a local grower. She was in my herbalism class, and her husband started an herb farm. And then, of course, ordering online. Oshala, I've gotten nice herbs from Oshala Farms, Mountain Rose, and I feel like I'm forgetting one, but there is a slide coming up with that information on it. And nut milk bags are perfect use them like you would do cheesecloth. You could use them for straining your herbs. You could use them for infusing a soup or a stew with herbs like nettle or burdock, something that doesn't have a strong flavor to it. So yes to nut milk bags, those are great. They're more expensive than some of the other options are. So, but I think if you have a few on hand, you could keep reusing it and see how long it lasts you. I made myself this, I'll show it when I come off of the slides, but I made like a tincture pouring kit so that I would have everything, and just got one of them dollar store boxes, plastic boxes. I keep everything in it, and I keep masking tape and Sharpie markers right in my kitchen drawer. Masking tape and Sharpie markers, because let me tell you something, when everything gets in the alcohol or the vinegar it all looks the same. I don't care how beautiful it was going in there, but after 6 weeks, it's gonna look like a little brown something. And I just keep my masking tape and Sharpies are the best. Quick, put just some kind of indicator on it, like what is it? What is it? Okay, so that said, I should have taken off tea tasting report back. That was something we did in our last class. But I am gonna go over tea first, quickly, as a medicine making technique. Let's see here. Let's see what I want to say first. So tea are basically, one of the oldest forms of medicine that exists. It's tends to be relatively inexpensive. You do need a clean water source, but it's still it's more accessible sometimes and less expensive than alcohol or vinegar or any other, thing to put water in. Thing to put herbs in. Tea is also a good medicinal practice because of the ritual of having tea. It's very nurturing and very healing to us to take that time for ourselves or for a loved one to sit down with a nice hot cup of tea.
I can't help but feel flattered by this conversation.
Oh, okay.
Tea. I keep hearing tea. No, anyway. That's my nickname. If everybody knows.
Yes,
tea,
we
it's
let
like
them sit down and have tea with the tea. Yes, definitely. I'm for that. So tea is called, technically it's a water extraction. It's a great delivery method. It's definitely more affordable than capsules. The body is better able to assimilate tea. It's very bioavailable. That means it gets into the body easily. And it, for the most part, unless you're using a diuretic herb that's going to make you go to the bathroom, tea is very hydrating. And that is another thing that's usually important in the healing process, is staying hydrated. It's a good choice for those avoiding alcohol, of course. It's an excellent solvent for minerals, most medicinal constituents, and mucilage. So mucilage is a quality of herbs, certain herbs, that just think of okra and you'll get mucilage. That's what some herbs are, very mucilaginous, and they need a cold water extraction in order for that property to come out. It doesn't come out in alcohol. It doesn't come out in vinegar. So anything that has that mucilaginous quality, you're going to want that to be a water extraction. Like I said, tea is actually better. I don't like to say better or worse, but tea is more effective, I'll put it like that, for like I said, extracting from mineral rich herbs like nettles, chickweed, violets, red clover, alfalfa, dandelion leaf, bladderwrack. Those are high in your minerals, and water does a better job of extracting minerals than alcohol. Let's see. So I said, like, your mucilaginous herbs that need a cold. Now, when I say they need a cold water extraction, you can pour hot water. You can make a hot blend and let it cool all the way down, or put it in the refrigerator. And then the mucilaginous qualities will come out, and you could strain it and you could heat it back up after that. It just needs that period of coldness. You could either do straight cold water, or you could do hot to cold, because there may be other properties in the herb that you want to come out in the hot extraction. So some mucilaginous herbs are slippery elm, marshmallow, corn silk, violet, cinnamon, believe it or not, because cinnamon seems like it's astringent, because it's like drying to your mouth. But if you put it in tea and let it come do a cold extraction, it gets that syrupy, slippery feeling to it. Licorice. And these are important because when you make a tea blend, sometimes we put together a tea blend and it may not be pleasant to us or to the person you want to take it, because it might be too drying in the mouth. So it's good to know, like, some mucilaginous herbs, and then you have your aromatic herbs that's going to be highly flavored. And then you have some that are more foundational and mild, like oat straw. So, you make your blend so that it tastes good and feels good, because the medicine ain't going to work if people are not going to take it. It's not going to take it. So, And the mucilaginous herbs are very moisturizing too, like for a sore throat, for acid reflux, for ulcers, so anything that's irritated, hot, irritated condition, think of adding a demulcent to your tea blend to give it some slip. Let's see. Teas are also great for immunomodulators. So an immunomodulator is a herb that modulates the immune system. That means it kicks it up if that's what you need, or turns it down if that's what you need. And those would be herbs and mushrooms. And these are herbs that have like a balancing effect. And sometimes some of the properties are actually destroyed in alcohol. So that's another thing to keep in mind. The downside to tea is that a lot of herbs don't have a good flavor for tea. Like, you're not going to get somebody to drink a cup of wormwood tea. And maybe they would. They might be mad at you afterward. But, or like, golden seal, or there are plenty that, and then that's one way to quickly turn folks off, because folks might be skeptical anyway. Which is, you got me taking, what we about to do? What is this? And then if it tastes terrible, then, or like with your kids too, it's like, they're like, nah, I never want to see the mason jar coming at me again. So some herbs are unpleasant, but there are aromatic, like all-stars, that are great to put in your tea for masking or enhancing some of that flavor. And that'd be like cinnamon, cardamom, licorice, or even black birch, that have a very pleasant taste to them. One of the downsides of tea is that it's not really effective to get out resins. Resins are in things like your roots, your bark from trees such as pine or spruce, or poplar, or also propolis, the bee extract, which requires very high alcohol because it's a very strong resin. Cannabis, so the resins are better extracted with alcohol. The other thing I'll say about tea is, so let's think about what we use to make tea with. I'm going to, let me turn this off for a minute. Let me just see here. Okay, it looks like it's okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep going in this format. I just don't want it to be a distraction with this slide up, and I don't want to forget to say this stuff. But just a quick review. Philip Woods, are you still having problems with audio? I saw a note. Is that because I was speaking low? I'll let T handle that piece. I just saw it though. Okay, so just a quick.
I'm fine. I can hear you fine. So maybe it's
okay. Okay. Philip Woods, you have your hand up. Or maybe that was for the audio. You're on mute. Are you able to unmute yourself?
He's not on mute. The little microphone there, he just can't, like he's not connected to audio.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be going through your Bluetooth field. But if you want to type a question or something in the chat, I can translate that for you. But you might be connected to your Bluetooth, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So quickly, like when making the tea, the last thing I want to say is you have infusions. Infusions are typically used for your lightweight plant material like leaves, flowers, fruits. and herbs that have a lot of volatile oils, and that's basically where you're pouring the water over the herb and you let it sit covered for at least 20 minutes. Now, why is it 20 minutes? So you can have a pleasure tea and you can have your medicinal teas. And a lot of what we make in the beginning are pleasure tea. What comes forward are the most aromatic qualities of the herb. It may be lighter in color and it's more mild in flavor. And that's like what you see when you get these tea bags or, you know, from the store, and it'll say steep for 3 to 5 minutes, you know. But when you're making a medicinal tea, you need to give time for more of the herbal properties to come forward. So a regular infusion could be where you pour your boiling water over. I usually do like a quart-sized jar. You pour your boiling water over, and I let it sit for anywhere from 20 minutes to overnight. And if it sits overnight on the counter, the next day I strain it and, you know, we'll drink it by the cupful. Like, I mean, this is not much bigger than a large coffee from a coffee shop, you know, so a quart a day of medicinal tea is not an outlandish prescription. I shouldn't say prescription, an outlandish recommendation for someone who is in need of that foundational herbal supports. So at least 20 minutes, sometimes overnight, and that's an infusion, and it's for like flowers, leaves, and fruits. The next thing would be called a decoction. And decoctions are for bark, roots, medicinal mushrooms, although medicinal mushrooms can do this, but there's even a longer method sometimes for mushrooms. And also for your hard aromatic seeds. So a decoction simply is that you're going to add your herbal material to a pot of boiling water and let it simmer for at least 20 minutes, you know, on the heat, not just sitting. It can be simmered from 20 minutes to a half hour. It can be re-simmered as long as it's giving its medicinal properties, flavor to the mix. And as long as it's yielding a good strong tea. They can be stored in the refrigerator after decocting, you know, so that it doesn't grow mold or microbes, but still, I would still treat it as very fresh, perishable product that you want to consume within about a day or two. So your teas, that can be a drawback and a plus, that you're always making it fresh, but it's not like some other medicines that are always shelf stable either. You can do a combination where you decoct it first for 20 minutes of simmering and then add your infusion. You would make a decoction. Catherine asked if you make a decoction of echinacea. You would make a decoction of the roots, and you can do an infusion of the leaf and flower. And that might be a great one to experiment with a combination, because you would decoct your roots first. And after they've simmered for actually 20 minutes, and then you take it off the heat, put in your flower and leaf, and then let that steep.
Philip, did you have your hand raised this time? Did you want to say something or ask a question? You're on mute though. Wanted to come off of mute.
Oh, Bill, we can't hear you.
Hello?
There you go. Did you want to ask a question or?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, thank you. How do you recognize which mushroom?
Uh-oh, you went on mute as soon as you asked the question. There you go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, how do you recognize which mushrooms is which?
That is a whole entire, that is like, I only know a few that I'm comfortable 100% saying, I know chicken of the woods, I know hen of the woods, I probably know reishi mushroom, and there are a few others, but that is really, really, really huge. So that's a lot. I mean, like they're probably, I think I would start by, I will say this, there is a great online, a guy that I took a mushroom walk with, a class with. I'm blanking on his name, but the website is called Learn Your Land. We can put it in the chat. Let me put it in the chat.
Yeah, because I got a bunch of mushrooms growing on my land, and I'm just wondering.
So what I would do, I would look at that Learn Your Land site. Do you go on Facebook?
Yeah, at times, yeah.
So there is a mushroom identification group on Facebook where you can snap pictures and, you know, get people that know how to identify them. I always suggest folks get people that know how to identify herbs, and then use your books, and then use your apps. Because you won't even know if the app is effective if you don't have some experience, some criteria, some know-how to know if the app is wrong. And especially with mushrooms, because there's a saying that every mushroom is edible once. So we don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that to be the case. One other question. Will this be a recording that we can come back to? Because I didn't get the first few minutes of it.
Yes.
Is there a way I can go back to this recording?
Yes, everyone who was registered will get the link.
Definitely.
Okay.
Because I'm definitely going to need it.
Okay.
And are we going to be doing full medicinal gardens?
Nice.
Are we?
Oh, are you,
Oh, I
are
thought
you
you said,
registered? Are you registered for the 4-class session, or is this your first class?
This is my first class.
So the whole medicine garden was with the 4-class session, but there may be other classes later in the year, but not this 4-class session was full, and the medicine making class is the only one we made open to everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I
Uh-oh, you cut out.
said an entire garden of nothing but medicinal plants.
Okay. So, okay, well, I mean, we can talk, we can keep in touch with Tefira and myself, you know, because we can always, you know, I'm always down to do plant identification walks. Some people do have me come out to say, like, tell me what's in my yard, you know, that kind of thing. So just, you know, keep in touch, and we can figure out how to get you going so that you know what everything is. But in the meantime, I'm always available on my Earthseed Detroit Facebook page, Earthseed Detroit Instagram, and you can always shoot me a question or send me a picture like, hey, what is this? That goes for everybody. How many people in this class? I'm about to say this too.
And what you say, Earthseed?
So
50 emails later. You
But
did
yeah,
also have another question in the chat about getting certification. You have
Right.
any thoughts about that? The 4-part series, we're offering a certification at the end, but in terms of like an in-depth certification, do you have any
So it kind of
recommendations?
depends on what you mean by herbalist certification. There are a lot of schools of herbalism. As far as I know, there are no like accredited schools of herbalism that your certificate is going to mean anything other than you have completed a lot, you know, like your hours, that you've done this dedicated course of study. And it does, I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything, but what I'm saying is it's not like there are places where it would never be recognized. Let me put it like that, like in Western medicine or allopathic medicine, or it's not the same as getting a naturopath, you know, a naturopath degree or certification. But there are a lot of classes that do offer the completion certificates, and I think the American Herbalist Guild, AHG, has started an herbal certification program, and theirs would be about the closest to like really recognized and acknowledged because of their standing in the herbal history and community. And it still involves like doing a lot of work. You know, it's like, how many hours have you devoted to doing this thing? But I was looking into their program. I would look into their program if you're looking for a very in-depth, all-in-one that's going to give you some type of a certification afterward. And they put parameters around it, like, you know, you're able to do certain things once you get it. And I see TC says that Cornell has one online. Okay, that's good to know, because I didn't know about that. And Herbal Academy, right. And because I went to, so the places I've gone to, like I didn't get certifications. Some of them gave me certifications for finishing the class. Like I did Chestnut School of Herbal Medicine. I've done the Human Path, which gives a certification too. I've done a study with Jim McDonald here in Michigan. He doesn't give a certificate, but Hanti, let me tell you, you came out of there like you had gone to med school. I mean, it was an 8-month, it was 1 weekend a month for 8 months, 2 days a month, and it was intense, you know. And I also have done other classes in other places, you know, with Wild Ginger School. And so, you know, it's always an ongoing process to keep your herbal medicine fresh and to learn from a variety of sources, because everybody does things differently. And some people are more informed about certain things than others. Like the Human Path, his background, he used to go to med school and he was a Green Beret. And his approach is very different than like Rosemary Gladstar, who is a more folk medicine, you know, maybe we measure, maybe we don't. Like we just grab a handful, and like neither is, I'm not saying either one is good or bad. I'm just saying like you will get your vibe of what you resonate with and the kind of teacher, you know, you want to have walking you through this. Some people ain't for everybody, you know. And I've never gotten like I said, I've gotten certificates from the variety of classes that I've taken. I'm committed to always, every couple years, I go on a learning spree, you know, and go find people to learn from. Like I would love to study with Seven Song at the Ithaca School of Medicine. Let's see, Chestnut. Someone was asking for this. Chestnut School of Herbal Medicine. You know, so I know that was a really, really long answer. I hope it was helpful. So it depends kind of on what your goal is. And I hope that gave you some sort of intense, medium, and light, but still effective ways to go about your herbal education, you know. Plus there are many community people you might be able to just be like, can I shadow you? Can I see what you're doing? Can I come over to your place and help you pick stuff? You know, that's how I do my internships, is like, just come out, hang with me every day and help me and learn. So, okay. Briefly, the reason I had this tea profile up, oh, the one with the Marine, Sam Kaufman is his name. And it is the Human Path. They just relocated to New Mexico. And he's about, so the Human Path is a survival school. And they just relocated to New Mexico. They do an herbal medics program. That was intense. We did a whole online virtual scenario of a emergency austere medicine. Their class offering is, they got some great class offerings there. I liked it. Sam, he's not for everybody. Depends on, hey, it is what it is. Joy, yes. Yeah, internship shadow with me whenever we gotta, I would love to have interns again that come out and do stuff. And we got some other opportunities coming up where we might be doing stuff in other places too. So please stay connected. Okay, I'm gonna talk some more about making medicine, y'all, okay? I was just adding the part about the tea tasting profile. It goes back to kind of what I was saying about how to make a good tea blend. And this is like, you take a bunch of different herbs. This was for like what you have in your kit, if you got a kit. If you didn't get a kit, it might be, I'm gonna go out and experiment with dandelion leaf, catnip, violets, I'm gonna make my own little relationship. And this is how we make our relationships so we can formulate medicine. And that's just, this is on this, you see it's on the slide, so you'll get this hookup for you. But it's just to steep it and you taste it at different intervals and compare when it's chilled, compare when it's hot. And that's going to give you that flavor profile. Make yourself a little chart. If you're an Excel person, do it. If you're a markers and crayons kind of person and stickers, that would be me. Make your chart. Like, this is how you just start getting to know your herb in one form. So that's what that was about. It'll be in your slide pack. And then this is like almost like a tea meditation. You start to make your tasting notes. Is it sweet? Is it spicy? Is it mild? Is it strong? Does it dry your mouth out when you taste it? Does it moisten your mouth or make you salivate? Is it creamy? What is the texture of that herb? Or just like broth, like oat straw or nettles or burdock really have you could say it's sweet-ish, but they're so mild. Think about, I could use this in a soup because it's not going to mess with the flavor of my soup. It's not going to make it taste like peppermint. You wouldn't put that, Then you take your time and you sit with it like a meditation. What do you smell? Is it aromatic? How does it make you feel? Is it warming or cooling? And then you sip it and give yourself some time to meditate on what does it actually do to your body and where. Is it making, some herbs make you think more clearly. Some herbs, you're like, wow, things seem to have come in focus a bit more. Some things make you, of course, they clear your sinuses. Or, where do I feel it in my upper body, my lower body? Is it all over? Do I need to go to the bathroom after a while? So that's one way to work your tea tasting profiles. Okay, so now we're going to talk about solvents. I already talked about water as a solvent. So we're going to move on to apple cider vinegar. And let me get my place here in my notes. Okay, and I'm going to really turn this off now to come back into the big picture. All right. Let's see here. Am I spotlighted? T, I can spotlight myself, huh? Let me see. Can I spotlight my own self? Yeah, here I am.
Yep, you are.
Here I go. Here I go. No, okay. So we're going to talk for a while about vinegar. Now, for whatever reason, over the course of my herbal fun times, I love vinegar. Let me do a time check too, because we're going to give a break, a bio break or a break for whatever. Let's break at about 7 to remind me, okay?
In 3 minutes.
Oh, wait, hold on. Not 3 minutes.
Okay.
Wait, let me see. How are folks feeling? Maybe I should say that. How are folks feeling? I've been running my mouth for a long time. You want me to go through vinegars and then we take a break, or take a break now and then come back? Let's type 1 if you want to break now, and 2 if you want to keep going.
Yeah, it sounds like, oh yeah,
one,
we got a mix.
two. One,
It's kind of mixed.
one. Okay, it is mixed. Mixed. Okay, look at y'all go. Joy said, keep going. I ain't gonna type a number. Keep going.
Iris, I need a break right now.
Tiffany, then we go.
You want to take a quick break and then jump into vinegar since there was a number?
I do feel like I'm happy that so many people want to keep going. But I do feel it's important for folks that feel they need a break to have that break. So we'll just do a 10-minute break. Is that okay? 10 minutes, you think?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just do a 10-minute break. I love y'all. Yeah, they like take a poll. That was a poll. Now that was a poll. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Participation.
That was participation. So it's 6:59. We'll be back at 7:09 and have fun. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm in here in the chat box, and thank you, TC.
Thank you so much. So vinegars. I think it started with fire cider. When I learned how to make fire cider, I don't know if it was fire cider or I somehow developed this real fondness of working with vinegars. They are easy to make. They're good for people that are avoiding alcohol. It just, I just got tired of buying alcohol all the time. And I just started to see like, what can I do? Oh yes, and then I got into making my own apple cider vinegar. We're not even gonna talk about that moment in my life. Cause I was like, everybody be quiet. Cause no one can tell me nothing right now. Cause I was like, made my own homemade apple cider vinegar, but for a long time I didn't know how to do that, which is okay. But like I said, I really got into making vinegars. Vinegar, when I talk about vinegar, unless I say otherwise, I'm talking about organic apple cider vinegar. And, it's great as a condiment, an ingredient in homemade salad dressings, and it is medicinal. Alcohol and water are stronger solvents for most medicinal constituents to get the most out of herbs. But vinegar does hold its own in a few areas. Again, for folks who are avoiding alcohol, it is really good at drawing out minerals. It really is good for drawing out minerals. So making a mineral-rich vinegar, and a lot of folks are in the habit, I know since it's become popular, like taking apple cider vinegar on a regular basis. Well, once you kind of get into herbalism, there's no reason like to take plain apple cider vinegar ever again. You could make burdock vinegar. Burdock vinegar is amazing. Or nettle vinegar. I've made hibiscus vinegar, which turns a beautiful red color. I've made, this is all gonna look the same, but where is it? Anyway, Monarda vinegar is superb because Monarda has that peppery oregano-like aroma and flavor. So I've made Monarda vinegar, chickweed vinegar. Like I said, I love experimenting with vinegar, especially with your mineral-rich herbs. Culinary vinegars are a great way to get the medicinal qualities, of your favorite kitchen herbs like basil and rosemary and thyme and, all of those. Vinegar is particularly well suited for flavor and heat. So if it's spicy or if it's highly aromatic, vinegars are really good for being a vehicle that'll keep that spiciness and keep that flavor. I'm not talking about distilled white vinegar. The only thing I use that for is cleaning. And I will give you a little how I use it for cleaning. It's like I said, it's very easy to make. You can use dried or fresh herbs. If you're using dried herbs, I would do a 1/4, either half to 1/4 of the jar covered with apple cider vinegar with your wax paper and your top. You can also get these. I did a little happy dance. These are BPA free. They are plastic, but they're BPA free, freezer fine, leak proof ball tops. I know, Madeline's like, oh my God. I know, me too. And they come in small and large. And these just, because I was, like I said before, I was wax paper, wax paper, wax paper, wax paper. But you don't have to do that with these. So they're an investment. They are a little more expensive, but yes, there are small ones too. So that was my little like, oh my God. So anyway, if you're going to use fresh herbs to make an infused vinegar, I would let them wilt for a couple of days. They don't have to be all the way dry, but you don't want them to introduce too much water in the mix. Although I will say, let me back up a minute. When I make my fire cider, I use lots of watery fresh herbs like ginger, and horseradish root isn't that watery, but ginger, fresh turmeric, fresh burdock root. I've used fresh like lovage and anything straight out the garden, and I've never had a problem with it. But you can let it wilt for a few days to get some of the water out. That's more important with the oil. But these, someone asked the name again, they're ball. I would just look up ball plastic caps or BPA free mason jar caps. And they may even have, other brands maybe making them now. So what I found is that once you make your vinegar blend, you can start tasting it after about a week or two. Now I let my fire cider sit for about 4 to 6 weeks, but you can, begin to taste it after a week to see what you want to do with it. Now my fire cider, I will say, it keeps all the year round. Like I try to make enough to last me the whole year. I'm gonna share with y'all my secret. I shared this secret in the last class too. Now it's not no secret no more. Okay. But and I'm including the links to these videos for you all in the slides. In the spring, I make a spring herb infused vinegar with all the things that are out at that time. Plantain, violet, chickweed, cleavers, put some mullein in there, burdock root, dandelion leaf, dandelion root, catnip, whatever is out and popping, right? This is place-based medicine, right? When you just go right out and get what's going on. And I make a big thing of infused vinegar. I just let it sit. I don't even refrigerate it. I don't have it in the sun, but I also I'm not all precious with it, like in, wrapping it in a sleeping bag at night either. It's just like, it literally just sits. And when I use it, once I start to use it, if the vinegar level gets beneath the plant material, then I'll strain it or move it to a smaller jar, because I don't want the plants to sit with air, but I'll strain it and use it, keep making smaller jars. And then when I get to fall, I try to make a lot. When I get to fall or this time of year, and I make my fire cider, which usually is, and I got a video link for that too, but it's usually like your horseradish root, ginger, the standard fire cider recipe, lemon, garlic, cayenne pepper, whatever you want. But then I use my spring infused herb vinegar also. So then if you ever get fire cider from me and wonder why the label has like 56 herbs on it, that is why, because it's a year-long process that I just keep going with the fire cider vinegar. So I initially, after about 2 weeks, a week or two, you can taste it. I like to experiment. How I got started is I used my small mason jars and I made burdock vinegar, any kind of vinegar I wanted to make, and I put them in the refrigerator, and then I began to taste them to see if I liked them, because apple cider vinegar can be a little rough. Now I found that burdock root, when you make apple cider vinegar, burdock infused apple cider vinegar, it gets smooth. It gets smooth probably because of the inulin that's in the burdock root. It's like a starchy component, and it mellows it out. So I was like, oh, this is good to know, when I'm making other stuff.
Are there any food safety concerns with, like, I don't know, canning stuff, vinegar? I just feel like, is there any like botulism type of
So
situation that you would
that's
think
a
about?
great question.
Yeah.
And I'll just speak from my own experience. I'm not talking about when I was making the vinegar from scratch. I'm talking about pre-made vinegar that has an acid level of at least 5 to 6%, which is going to be your store-bought organic apple cider vinegar. I have never, let's all knock on wood or whatever, wherever you want to knock, knock, knock. I've never had a fire cider or an infused vinegar go off. I've never had mold grow on it. I've never had it look slimy but by all means, if that happens, then I would discard that batch. But I've never had that happen. Like literally, like this, and this is a oxymel, which means it's a vinegar and honey blend.
Hope you had a good time with us.
And it is shelf stable. I mean, it's never been refrigerated.
Thank you.
And part of that has to do with honey, and part of it has to do with the vinegar. And I've experimented a lot. Like I have had syrup go bad. Like if you don't use enough sugar, there are certain ways that syrups will go bad. But when I use the vinegar, so far, I haven't had that happen. You could, okay, to the questions. You could use a clean rock to hold the herbs down. If you want, what I find is when I make them, I try to, if I get them all under this, where it starts to like curve in at, they're not so likely to be up too high. And then I feel mine so high. I mean, I feel them right to the top too. But you could use a clean rock. You could use their weights that you can get with canning, with fermentation supplies, like little round glass things to hold stuff down with. I haven't used the weights, and I have experience. I had rocks in my stuff for a while. I used to do that, but I don't know. I got away from it. But you definitely could. Why keep some in the fridge versus others? So I was refrigerating mine more so when I first got started making them, because that's what we do, right? That's what made me feel better about what I was doing, Then as time went by and I've made more and more things, I just found that refrigeration wasn't necessary. Like this is my fire cider here, and it will literally, it's heavy in turmeric. And I think also because you tend to put a lot of antibiotic herbs in your blends too, which cuts down on any bacteria that would grow, antibacterial herbs, antimicrobial herbs, those play a part also. Now I wouldn't do this with tea, of course. The vinegar I haven't had a problem with. Burdock root, it's the root that we use. Yes, the root. Oh yeah, making vinegar out of kombucha. I made a lot of stuff accidentally into vinegar. But I'm glad it was great. After harvesting the herbs and washing, do I need to dehydrate before soaking with vinegar? Okay, yeah, we did talk about that. I've had success with putting fresh herbs in vinegar. I have also, depending on the herb, I've let it dry out a couple of days. It doesn't have to be completely dry, but I've had plenty of success with using things like ginger, turmeric, fresh garlic, things that are typically, pretty juicy, and I haven't had a problem. And I really think that's because of the antimicrobial properties of those herbs. So you don't have to dehydrate them. And the acidity. Thank you, Raquel. Thank you. And you're right. There wasn't always Frigidairs. It's amazing. And you get into fermentation, you'll be like, what? We just gonna sit this on the countertop and let it grow. We just gonna let this grow and then we just gonna eat this stuff. First time I made sauerkraut, I was like, what? So you're right. It's all these ways of preservation that we've just sort of gotten away from, Fire cider, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to talk about fire cider. So just give me 1 minute, Althea. I want to make sure that I went over, I've had success with my vinegar extracts lasting. Like I said, I've never had them go bad. In the beginning, I used to pitch stuff after, 3 months, or how you do, you pitch it after 3 months, then all of a sudden you get something that's been there 4 months and you're like, okay, let me try this. And then you get something that's been there 5 months. Next thing you know, I've had that success, 1 to 5 years on vinegars. It literally never goes bad. So spicy vinegars. Okay, I want to share a book. I do have the link to this in the slides. Fire cider. Oh God. Fire cider is one of my favorite things. It is literally just historically, it was a drink that was prepared like for the cold months coming, spicy for the cold and flu season, always has a hot element like cayenne pepper. I've made it with habanero peppers. I've made it with jalapeno peppers. I've made it with red pepper flakes. I've made it with red pepper powder, horseradish root, sinus opener, very tasty. I like it. Ginger, lemon, garlic, onions, and whatever else you want to add, which I'll get to in a minute, because everybody has their own little recipe, right? And then once it sits for about 4 to 6 weeks and it's nice and spicy, you can always make it spicier, because you could literally add like sriracha, or you could add however you want to get it hot. You just want to avoid something that has like a lot of oil in it, maybe like chili paste, but you can always make it hotter. You don't make it so hot. I make it to where I make a milder version and then a hot, like make it to what you can stand, if you're going to give it to kids. You can then, once you get it done, that mellows out the heat, is you add honey. So after it's done, you can add honey. So I usually keep mine without honey because then it's more versatile. I've used it for salad dressing. I use it in my collard greens. Or whenever I'm making greens, I use a little bit in soup or stews, because it helps, just like it helps draw out the minerals in those herbs, it helps draw out the minerals in kale, collard greens, anything that you're making a soup or whatever. It's good to do a little shot of vinegar in there. Anyway, it improves the flavor too, a little bit of acidity. So I keep it without honey so I can use it as a kitchen condiment. I use it in everything, stir fries. I've made barbecue sauce. Everything. And then when I take it medicinally, I usually add honey. You could add enough honey where it's like a syrup. You could add it to a cup of hot water, a shot of fire cider and honey and lemon and have it as a hot beverage. I've used it for cold beverage too, you know, like a little cocktail, fire cider cocktail, why not? It's a great immune boost. If you're feeling sick, and you feel that something coming on and you want to like nurture yourself, I usually do some fire cider, vitamin C pack, nettle tea, you know, that's like in my little, it's in my back pocket all the time. I'm gonna recommend this book because like I said, I'm a great fan of fire cider. This book here, it is so full of just wonderful variations on fire cider. You know, you can make your own, like, you know, I've made it with hibiscus before. It turns out beautiful red. This is a great gift to give to people at the holiday times, you know. It's good to read. It's well written. The graphics are cute. Like I love I like this book. So I will have the link, you know, the name in the slides, but it's just, you know, it's just and it has lots of like salad dressings and again, syrups, and then a few like pickled recipes and things like that. So this is a great reference for vinegar, fire cider overall, but just like really, it'll, you know, like I said, I fell in love with vinegar as a way to make medicine. I make elderberry oxymel, which is honey and vinegar, and I make a mullein respiratory oxymel. I like to extract it first in vinegar because it has that shelf life. When you try to make a syrup, syrups are water extractions with enough sugar, and it has to be beet sugar if you want it to be shelf stable. And it's going to be sweet. Oxymel is OXYMEL. Thank you. So to make a regular herbal syrup, it usually ends up being equal part liquid to sugar, which is a lot. I mean, it is a syrup. Think about pancake syrup, you know, which is great for some things, but not so great for others. You know, it's like high in sugar. And the only way to make it shelf stable is to use beet sugar, which is the white sugar, you know. And I tend to at least try to use organic cane sugar if I'm gonna use sugar. So when I make my syrups, which I'm sorry, one is they're in the refrigerator, those do get refrigerated because I don't want to use that much beet sugar to make it shelf stable. So my syrups I put in the refrigerator when they're made with organic cane sugar. But if I make an oxymel, and even if I do honey, if I make a syrup where I'm using water-based extraction, and then even if I use enough honey, like I used to make my elderberry syrup with, I'd put all of my stuff in the pot and it was water-based, and I would boil it down until it was really good and concentrated. And then I would add like half raw honey. But if it sat out, it would ferment or mold. And you do not want to make a big old batch of elderberry of anything and sit there and find the mold on top of it later. So that had to go in the refrigerator. But when I make the oxymels with the vinegar and honey, I haven't had to, I want to make fermented garlic honey. Sorry, I'm easily distracted, but I haven't had to refrigerate it. So that's just, you know, you will experiment, you will find certain things, you know, that work and don't work, and tweak it as you need to. But this book and let's see, I think I answered all of the questions. For apple cider, if you want to sell it commercially, do you have to be in a licensed kitchen? So that is a good question. I mean, I operate under cottage industry laws, which is like, I make sure it's labeled that this was a small batch product made in a non-commercial kitchen. It says it right on all of my products. There are certain leniences for like dried tea doesn't fall. Like you can sell dried tea blends commercially. You could make a dried fire cider blend, maybe. I don't know how it works with because you're really not changing those products a lot, you know, the honey and the apple cider vinegar, but I'm not sure. You would really have to consult the cottage laws, and it might depend on the volume that you want to sell it at. Althea, I do have a slide that has all the books that we've talked about so far in class in the slide deck. And there's one called 20,000 Secrets of Tea, which is just a good basic starter book. And when I say basic, I don't mean like lightweight either, though. It's very easy to read, though. It's a nice book. Okay. I'm gonna go on to tinctures. It depends on the herb, Elsa. It depends on the herb. I think, so Elsa was asking about not wanting to use alcohol and is vinegar as effective. Vinegar is not as effective as water or alcohol. It is good for the minerals, like I said, but there's going to be certain things that it doesn't bring out as good. Now you might be able to do a combination of water extract and maybe try, you know, you'd have to play around with it, but it's not as effective on some things. And I think it would be on a by herb basis. You'd have to kind of evaluate that. Okay, let's talk about tinctures, because that tends to bring up a lot of questions about alcohol. So tinctures. Boom. Okay, I'm gonna show and tell. These are, so what we're gonna talk about is like fresh herbs in tinctures. Now this, can you see that? Let me get you, let me see, is there a better one? Okay, I hope you can see. This is full.
We can see it.
Can you see that it is actually full all the way with plant material?
Yeah.
And that is because this was tinctured fresh. So fresh herbs, I tend to loosely fill the whole jar with alcohol. I mean, loosely fill the whole jar with plant material, sorry, and then cover it with alcohol. So fresh herbs, you'll see this is St. John's wort. So it's full because it was fresh plant material. When the herbs are dried all the way out, they shrink in volume and they're more concentrated. So for a dried root, this is Oregon grape root. I tend to use, depends on the herb, 1/3 to or 1/4, 1/4 to 1/3. It depends a lot on the herb. Now, what alcohols do we use for alcohol-based tinctures? The short answer is, what can you get your hands on most easily. There's gonna be herbal medicines made out of pop-off vodka. There's gonna be herbal medicines made from Tito's. I have done both. Get what you can afford and what you like. You know, what do you like? I've made awesome tinctures with whiskey, brandy. I haven't done gin, but you could do gin. And there is, of course, Everclear. Everclear is very, very high proof grain alcohol. The main thing you have to remember is that in order for a tincture to be shelf stable and not grow mold or bacteria, is it has to be at least 35% alcohol. And 35% alcohol equals 70 proof. So it's always double. We're gonna do math, a little bit of math, just a little bit of math. It's always double. If it's 35% alcohol, it's gonna be 70 proof. If it's 40% alcohol, it's 80 proof. So, you know, most of your vodkas, most of your drinkables are 80 proof. Brandy's 35% alcohol, it's 70 proof. I used to love making elderberry infused brandy. I used to use that for my elderberry syrup. I'd use rose petals, rose hips, elderberry, elderflower, and filled it up with brandy. I mean, it was medicine, but it also was in cinnamon sticks. So brandy is awesome. I used to use E&J VSOP, like the VSOP on it, but I would use E&J VSOP. I use that a lot, and I still like it for certain, you know, like I said, it's your preference. Vodka, I was using Tito's for a long time. And then I was like, I kind of just feel like I'm wasting my money by using this higher quality vodka. But I mean, it tastes good. Some people swear by organic alcohol. Now in Michigan, we cannot, you have to order that, you know, because they don't sell organic high proof alcohol in Michigan. And if you order it, you would have to know somebody to go pick it up. Like if you know somebody in Ohio, a place where they will ship it. Some people swear by only using organic. You will develop your own profile for your own medicine. Everclear. Now, another interesting thing about Everclear is here in Michigan. So this is 151 proof. And if you look at my label here, you see it says 75%. So that means, that to me lets me know I used Everclear because it's 151 for fresh mullein leaf. But they have higher proof than this, but we can't get it in Michigan. There is a higher proof Everclear, but we can't get it in Michigan. So the good thing about Everclear is that it's strong, it's flexible. So you can use it like, you could dilute it, again, math. You can dilute it to stretch it so that you're at 35 or 40% alcohol, you know? But you also have it very strong if you want to use it for something like spruce or pine or something that you really need to get the resins out, then you have a very strong alcohol. Now, a lot of times I don't dilute mine. I just make everything with 75%. It just kind of depends. So what
Hey,
other?
Lottie, I don't know if you can hear me. My internet is a little bit shaky.
Okay.
There, but there was a couple questions adding up in the chat, and just a time check. We're almost at 15 minutes.
Okay.
But starting with Iris up here, who was wondering, like, how do you know if it's complete and ready to use when you're doing the tinctures? And then there are a few more down there.
Okay, thank you, Iris. Thank you. I usually let mine sit 4 to 6 weeks. My cue is 6 weeks. I know that there's sometimes if you needed to get at them before then because someone was experiencing, you know, a situation where you needed them, you would probably be okay after 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, you'll see the color get darker and darker and darker. But 4 to 6 weeks is usually my standard for sitting herbs.
Yeah, but I think you answered some of these. Does that be a certain
I
percentage?
love making stuff with Jamaican rum. I have a thing I make called golden hooch.
Oh, I
golden
like
hooch.
that. Hold on. So if you don't know, Lottie does have an online store where she makes tinctures. Let me plug you up because you haven't done it yet. We're gonna plug her up. Earthseed Detroit. I've ordered some tinctures from there, and that one right there, I really like. It's tasty and it has all the good things in there.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and I love making it with rum. I like making it with Jamaican rum. It's ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, cloves, and it's like a warming elixir, raw honey. But yes, I love making stuff with Jamaican rum. See, rum isn't my favorite thing to drink though, but I like it in certain preparations. We already covered if it had to be a certain percentage, at least 35%. Has anyone used Sam's Club brand vodka for tincture? Someone can pop in on that. I have not. I'm gonna venture to say, just, you know, try with a smaller bottle and just see. I doubt it would be anything, because when you start getting into tinctures, a lot of them they don't taste. I mean, the golden hooch is like tasty because it's got honey and spices in it, but a lot of them are like, this is medicine. It's not gonna taste good. So you probably be fine with Sam's Club brand vodka, but anyone else can weigh in if they've actually used it or not. Machines to make tinctures. Okay, that's a great question. I have done blender method, and let me plug another book while I'm at it, because this guy talks about using the blender. This is another good book, Making Plant Medicine by Rico Check. And he talks about making herbs with blenders. And Seven Song talks about making herbs with blenders. I have a Vitamix. I have done, yes. So I've used blenders. That's the only thing I've used is a blender. What do I think about it? It was fine. It was fine. I think it was fine. And I also thought energetically it was okay. But I just had a feeling about how rough the processing of the herb was with the blender. It made me feel like, I don't know, but quality wise, it was cool. Now I will share that I went to a herb fair and one of the herbalists was teaching a class and she had a machine. It was an extraction machine. I can't remember what it was.
Mine, Lottie, is I have a magic butter.
Oh, I think it was a magic butter.
I have a magic butter, and that's that kind of wider one. But then I have the, what is the thing? Is the butter brewer? No, the butter brewer is that wide, kind of wide body one that's kind of sits flat, and it basically just rotates things around. But the magic butter has a little blade, and so it kind of, you know, beats it up. And so I don't use it that often. But I was just wondering if you ever use.
I think that's what she had. I think that's exactly what she had was the magic butter. And let me tell you, she had us all taste tinctures that were made with it and without it. And call it woo-woo, call it what you will. The energetics of the machine processed tincture was not the same. It wasn't as vibrant. It wasn't as alive. It seemed like it had been, you know how you boil something down like beyond recognition and it's just like a limp version of itself.
This
Now,
magic butter having that blade, it chops everything. So
it
I can
could have
see
been
how that
that.
would make it really bitter, because at some point it probably would even be burning the herbs because of the heat of the blade and stuff touching the herb. So it
Could
would give it a
be.
kind of burnt flavor. But the butter brewer just having the paddle thing and just kind of whooshing it around and using heat
Mhm.
to kind of create the tonic. I could see that would be smoother. That would
It could
even
be.
appear to be smoother.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that's a great question. I just know everyone in that class said they preferred what we call sort of like the more folk method of making them than the machine. And even when I was using my blender, even though it was quick because I started doing such large quantities of herb, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put this calendula in the blender, and whirl it up. And it worked fine, and I didn't feel like those lost their energetic properties, but I just found myself not using it as much for that. Fresh and dried herbs in a tincture. I'm trying to think of a situation where you would do that. You could, because I usually make what are called simples, which is one herb, and then I'll formulate and make a blend. But if you're gonna make a blend, I mean, you could. I don't see a reason why you couldn't blend fresh and dry together. I'll say this, certain stuff I do, this may not be the same as your question, but maybe. So like this tincture here, which is mullein flowers, and you see how little I have in there. It's because mullein flowers bloom like 4 a day. You know what I mean? Like they take their time. So you have to run out there, grab a few, throw it in your jar, go out the next few days, grab a few, throw them in your jar. So when I first put in the first little layer of mullein flowers, I only covered them with alcohol to here. Then I went out and got more flowers and added them, and then I added more alcohol. And then I went out and got more flowers and I added more alcohol. So you could do that. Now, like suppose I had dried mullein flowers. I don't see any reason why you couldn't add a scoop of dried mullein flowers and then fill it all the way up. I don't think there would be a problem with mixing fresh and dry. If I think of a problem, I have to think. The recipe on the Waltons, are you talking about like, what's the recipe on the Waltons? Do I strain them? Yes. I usually strain stuff. Okay, so like this here, I have some orders pending for. So I haven't strained it yet. I let it sit until I get an order. It's okay to let the plant material sit and sit and sit and sit inside the alcohol. But once I get an order and I begin to pour off that alcohol, and of course I don't want any herbs to be above the alcohol layer, then I usually go on and strain it all the way out, which this, oh no, that still has plant material in it. That's mullein root. But yeah, once I start to use it for order, then I strain it all out, rinse the jar out, dry it off, and then I'll put it back in the same jar, but then I do take the plant material out then. You do not have to vacuum seal the jars, not for the alcohol tinctures. I haven't vacuum sealed anything. Oh, Kiana, my old school Kiana. When I say resins, I mean, so like, pine sap, the sticky spruce sap, those are resins. And they take a lot of high alcohol to break it down into a liquid. So you could make a tincture like propolis. If you buy propolis in the store, that's about a dropper. That's an extract and the resin is in there. The resin is going to dissolve. I hope that answers your question, Shree. shake, shake, shake your tinctures. Yeah, I do. Like, I don't do them as much as I used to, but you know, whenever you think about it, but like, I got a closet full of tinctures now, and I don't go up in there shaking them around. But in the beginning, yes, shake them because, well, this is a good point. Thank you. If you use dried herbs, or even if you use fresh, like especially a herb like mullein, you pour it to the top, but then you come back the next day or two, the plant might have absorbed some of that alcohol, and then the level of alcohol has gone down, and you need to top it off. So it is good to check on them. Once you get them going, you know, shake them whenever you feel like it, but do check to make sure the plant material is under the alcohol. And if you need to top them off, do that. Let's see, I talked about ice. I hope you heard the conversation about the magic butter machines and the tincture machines. Thank you, T, for posting the website. Is an elixir and a tincture different? I usually think of an elixir as something that has a sweetening agent in it, like a syrup. It's like a more of a syrup, not as thick as a syrup. But I usually refer to an elixir when it's got honey or a sweetener in it, but that might not be a technical definition. Oil and honey infusion. I've never heard of that before, Jared. The oil and honey infusion. I use a crock pot for my oils. And I really am not going to get a chance to go over oils as much as I wanted to. But do you feel like, I would love to know what you think of that. I'm assuming that's some kind of a plug-in container like thing. I usually have a crock pot that's devoted to making oils, infused oils and infused honeys. And you can get like those buffet crock pot things, like the little three job thing that's for like meatballs and whatever. You know, I love using that for my oils, because I can do 3 at a time and it's not such a big amount. Thank you for this. The book is relatively inexpensive, The 20,000 Secrets of Tea, because it's a little paperback. You can probably get it for definitely under $10, maybe even under $7, but that's cool. TC provided a link for the PDF for that group. Okay, I see. It could be, a molcajete would be great. Like I have processed a few things using a molcajete or the mortar and pestle, depending on what it is. Like if I need to break down like cardamom pods, or if I wanted to break down, you know, a fresh plant material, you could. What I end up doing when I'm using fresh plants, a lot of times is I just cut them with scissors. If it's leaves, something soft enough for me to cut, I just a lot of times just snip them, hold them up and, you know, snip them down into the jar or pull all the leaves off and just leave them like that. I don't really worry about them being, you know, they say, you know, exposing more plant cells to the alcohol. I understand that, but what's been working for me is I just cut them with scissors, you know, as small as possible till I get cramps in my hand. But that's what got me doing the blender, was that let me expose as much of the plant's surface to the alcohol, the blender. Yes. So, but you could definitely use that for sure. Let's see here. Oh, and we got a link. Look at these resourceful folks. Making Plant Medicine has a PDF download too. Oh, so reusing the brown bottles. Now, I only reuse my brown bottles, the bottoms, because the droppers usually get stained by the medicine. Sometimes the rubber stopper after a while will start to either break down, or sometimes it'll swell. You know, it's just not, I don't feel like it's intact. And when I reuse the bottoms, I only reuse for personal use. Like I said, I sell stuff. I never reuse a bottle that was used for, you know, it would be nice to recycle these because we go through a lot But I recycle them for personal use only.
I see Althea was just interested in salves and butter. Do you wanna?
Okay, I can very quickly go over salves and butters. I'm gonna give you one more plant book recommendation, just so that I'm sure I got it out there. Because we got 2 minutes, y'all. This is another good one, the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook. The name and the author will be in the slides. And like I said, there are other books on herbs themselves and process that are on that slide too. These are just a few on medicine making that I happen to have. So I wanted to get that one out there. Pizza cutter is a great chopper. That's a great chopper. Yeah, so, you know, a lot of it, I've had people come over, have your friends over and give everybody a branch. I'm like, here, take the leaves off of this while you're sitting there. That's what I make my grandkids do too. Here, while you're sitting there, pull these petals off. So we're gonna close out. I apologize. It's always so much to talk about. I'll just make a quick note. How do you strain? Oh, that's good. Yeah, a little brush to clean the droppers. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe I should, like, kind of like the kind for stainless steel straws would probably work. That's true. Just make sure that your rubber stopper, that the integrity of your stopper is still intact, because they will break down. But by all means, use them as much as possible. This is something we go through so much of, and again, and when I get ready to make stuff, I only make it when I'm ready to distribute it too. I keep it in the mason jar as long as possible. I learned my lesson about pouring up a whole lot of small bottles, because alcohol evaporates. I don't care how airtight it is. These are permeable, semi-permeable, and you will come back and be like, wait, how come we who am nipping in all the tinctures? So, let's see. Okay. I'm sorry. Someone was asking for a link and I'm not sure exactly which link. Was that for? Let me know. Can you give me a little more detail about which link? And I will definitely post it. I'm sorry. Someone asked me for a link that they didn't get a hold to. Okay. And what we went over earlier, it'll make sense now when you listen to the recording or go back and look at the kit, because those are all the things you would use to strain your tinctures after they're ready. That's when you use, like, you know, your strainer, your funnel, your cheesecloth, all the things are for straining your tinctures and bottling them up. We're gonna close out with oils. This is about to be fast. It's never enough time. But there are many oils you can use for herbs. This is the one time. Now you're gonna definitely want to watch your water content. So for fresh herbs, you would have to have them wilt for a few days, at least. You do not want to put water in your oil, because that's the quickest way to get mold and bacteria. So if you're going to use something like plantain, this is one that I did. This was plantain, dandelion leaf, and chickweed. This goes back to the person who said, can you combine 2 different things, 3 different things? Now, these were all fresh too, but you just lay them out, like open up a brown paper bag, or sometimes this is a colander that I wasn't using. This is Monarda, and I just let it sit on the counter because the air can circulate around it. And I just turned it over from time to time too, so that I was sure nothing was molding on the bottom, you know. So this is ready to go in some oil. And I just use, the one I use the most is just a regular extra virgin olive oil. you know, as much, the best you can afford. Don't like the best, what you feel comfortable getting. Would somebody please repost the PDF to the 20,000 Secrets of Tea, please? One of our class missed that link. I didn't have it myself. Someone else shared it, so I'm sure that'll be taken care of. Thank you. Another good oil. I love this example because no matter what, when I'm making my olive oil infusions, I'm always like, is it in there? Is it really in there? Like, so I made coconut oil and I used calendula. And I was like, it's in there. It's definitely in there. So this is calendula in coconut oil. So you got to think about what you want to use it for. Like too thick of an oil is going to sit on top of your skin. So you don't want to use that over like a wet rash, something that's weepy, something that you're going to trap bacteria in. And some oils tend to sit on the skin. Other oils absorb in more quickly and thoroughly, or you can add a component like cayenne pepper that opens up your pores, or menthol, you know, like an arthritis rub that helps it get sucked into your body. So there are a few things to consider when making an oil. And coconut oil is great because it's like a dry oil. Have you ever noticed how it's just, if you use it like on your skin or something, it's just not, it doesn't lay up on the surface. It seems to go away, you know. Coconut oil, and again, things to remember for oil. The plant should be dried, as dry as possible. Minimum a few days of wilting. How do you get it in the oil? You can do cold infusion, which is just covering it and letting it sit, again, 4 to 6 weeks. You can do warm infusion, which is like a crock pot. You don't want it to get, you want to still always be able to put your finger in it. You don't want to fry your herbs. You could do it on a low oven. Sometimes you can turn your oven on, let it come up to like, put it on the lowest, then turn it off and let it sit overnight. Again, you don't want to fry your herbs. And then you can experiment with other oils. Some are more expensive than others, like almond oil, jojoba oil. Oh, that's not jojoba oil. Jojoba oil. And then once you have your oils done, what you can think about is how you want to use it. Like if you want to turn it into a salve, how long do I leave warm infusions on? Sometimes, so I have infused things, I put them in a crock pot on low, and I've let them sit for days. They've sat for days. I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably go check on that. But you just want to make sure it's so low that, let me see if I can find, I'm sorry, I should have had this handier. I wanted to give you, where did I put that bookmark at? Oh, I lost it. Okay. I wanted to give you the exact temperature that it needs to be at, that to keep it from, again, to keep it fresh, but also not fry your herbs. So crock pots are good, but sometimes even the warm setting is too hot. As long as it's not so hot to where your herbs are getting crunchy, like burning, you can smell it. If they're burning, then you can leave them as long as you want to infuse them. I mean, not weeks, but you could definitely do it over the course of a few days. And then you could think about how you want to use it. Are you going to use it as an oil, a massage oil, turn it into a salve? If you want to turn it into a salve, then you're going to want to look at like beeswax pellets, because then you would add about, the rule is sort of a teaspoon per ounce of oil, a teaspoon of beeswax pellets for an ounce of oil. And you can check it by putting it on a little plate or a little piece of aluminum foil or some little top to a Tupperware dish. Put a little bit of your oil with your beeswax on it and stick it in the freezer for a while and see if when it comes out, it's like the consistency you want it to be. And it kind of depends on what you're going to use it for. Once again, are you going to use it as a salve, as a massage cream? Do you want it to be a lip balm, which means you need more beeswax so it doesn't like melt in your purse or melt in the car? You might want to add shea butter or cocoa butter to it. So I know that was like quick, fast, and dirty on the oils. I'm sorry. I talk a lot, and I hope I got most of the questions answered. Grapeseed oil is awesome. It can be expensive, I think. I've never made grape leaf vinegar. I've made a delicious grape syrup from the wild grapefruit, but grape leaf vinegar sounds awesome. We have a hand up, Madeline.
I just came into some beeswax and know that you said, or the fact that you just held up said like 100% pure beeswax. My grandpa like gave me some that he used like from his beehives. That's definitely like got a little bit of honey in it. Still, do you think that that's like fine to add to?
Yeah, I think that's
a
awesome.
salve?
Yes, for sure. I think that would be great because honey.
I was
now-
really excited about it, but
Yeah,
I don't know
first
if that
of all,
would change the component of it or like make it a little like runnier. I'll experiment though.
Yeah, I don't think it would have that much honey in it, but even if it did, I mean, I think you'd be fine. And honey has its own antibacterial properties and skin healing properties, so it'll probably give it a nice added little touch to it. But I would say that's fine to use.
Thank you. I'm even more excited now.
Oh, Tish, thank you for the honey. I didn't realize that Tish was right here in our midst. This woman of honey. We are going to enjoy that honey. Thank you so much. And yep, honey is a humectant. That means it holds moisture in, so that could be a nice touch depending on what you want to use it for. Well, you guys, like I said, there's so much to cover. Medicine making is fun and personalized to what you like. I find myself making certain preparations by moon phases, like I make stuff like, how are you moved to make your medicine? And you will do just fine, just allowing yourself to be guided by the plants. They tell us what they want to be, how they want to be used. And it's such a great relationship that I'm just thankful we have. And it predates a lot of these other systemic things that hold us down and oppress communities and are violent toward communities. Our relationship with plants can be a way to tap into our ancestral healing energy, that is our birthright to have. So I've enjoyed talking. I've enjoyed all of the questions that came up. The link will be available to everyone who registered. And we'd love to stay in touch if there's a way to stay in touch for future classes, since all of you weren't able to get in on the, initial class offering. So yeah.
And I had a number of people ask me about how to join the cohort. We've had such great success. I'm gonna assume and maybe talk to Lottie. We're gonna try to do it again next year.
Mm-hmm.
Am I frozen? Maybe. Okay.
You're not frozen. I can hear you.
Okay, great. Great. So the last 2 years, the application have come out in the late spring. So keep an eye out for the newsletter. All of our information is on our social media. So kind of keep an eye out. I know a few people were bummed that they didn't make the whole class. So definitely keep an eye out for next year's class. And shout out to Tish, who's on the line, who supplied the honey for you guys' box. Yeah.
And I will probably be doing some class offerings. Someone asked about second level, going deeper, because I'm always interested to create deeper learning opportunities too for folks that that really want to nerd out over some plan. So again, if we can keep in touch, I hope we've collected these emails so that you can at least be made aware if we're going to do like a second level class or something that gets deep down into maybe one body system or like one particular type of herbs. I haven't figured out, but that'll be an offering coming up too.
Yeah, we can definitely help promote that and make sure that we have the emails that goes out to the emails from this class for sure. Definitely. Lots of people were interested, and Lottie, it's such a wealth of information, and you're able to translate it in such a digestible way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You can get Gray. If you go to Earthseed Detroit to the website, there is a place to sign up for the email list there too. I don't send a lot of email. I don't send a lot, but every now and then you'll hear from me. But it is a way to keep in touch with me. So yeah, T, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
That's okay.
in and out here, but yeah. So I guess that is our class for tonight. I don't see any other kind of questions coming through.
Oh, you know what I wanted to
thank
show
yous.
right quick? Let me do this right quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me do this right. Is this gonna work? Am I gonna mess up? Let me see. Oh, I was trying to make. Let me do this right here.
Oh, the resource slide. I think you want.
Yeah. Okay. So what you got coming? That is the vinegar, oxymels, and syrup video. There is the herb infused vinegar video, and there is medicine making basics. You got herbs infused honey, infusing vinegar without heat, how to make an alcohol-based tincture, the basic herbal oxymel recipe, the books that we talked about tonight, plus the ones that we've talked about in class prior to tonight, where to purchase the dried herbs, some of the places, and then my information. And then these are some more YouTube links, the fire cider. Oh yeah, I never even said the citrus, the cedar pine cleaning vinegar made out of white vinegar. So you can check those out on your own time. I just wanted to be sure. Yeah, that's that. Okay. And they'll get a copy of the slides too, right?
Yes, I need to get that from you.
Okay. Coolio.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy. Look out for an email from me probably by Monday with the links and the slides. Ooh, did you get? I got a big thunder over here, thunder and lightning over here. Anyway, ooh, it was big. So enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing y'all again in the future. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, do y'all get a copy of the slides? So here for tonight only? Yeah, for the other people.
Oh,
I gotta
yes,
ask.
I'll send the slides
Thank you.
and the so you have all those resources for everybody who registered. So
Okay,
if you
great.
register with your email, I'll send that
Thank
to
you.
you. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, right.
Just wanted
Oh,
to mention
thank you.
that
I'm so sorry.
in the chat box, there you can save the chat and all the